Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel once again. Keith here from Commander Hoops. If this is your first time coming across the channel, like and subscribe below would be appreciated. As there's a Hurricane Melissa over Jamaica, there's a storm over Celtic Park at the moment because fans are feeling a bit all over the place. Some people are feeling a bit, what is going on? Is it the board's fault? Is it Brendan's fault? Is it the team's fault? Why are we in this position right now? Last night around 10 o'clock, Brendan Rodgers was confirmed that he has handed in his resignation and he has left Celtic Football Club. After just over 2 years returning to the club, won his 2 titles, a Scottish Cup and a Scottish League Cup, and got us into the Champions League playoff rounds. Let's be honest, I was a big fan of getting Brendan Rodgers back in the door to replace Ange, and I look at it now and I say to myself, how did it come to this with him and the board? Was it down to him being stubborn, having this whole elite manager ego to him? He couldn't get a reaction out of some of these players. And I mean, the squad that he inherited from Ange, I'd say 70% of the players just didn't play to the level he would want. Now, Matt O'Reilly, Liam Scales, Days and Maeda, they all ticks the boxes, and Alistair Johnson, maybe a spells, Callum McGregor, but majority of the players weren't buying into Brendan Rodgers' ethos of football, and results shown it, transfer window shown it, and I will say 70% of the problem is the board, and I will talk about the board in this video as well. But Brendan Rodgers, a lot of people didn't want him back because the way he left the last time. When he left with, a bad taste in people's mouths. The way he left for Leicester City. But it's coming a regular occurrence with Brendan Rodgers in football. In his 3rd season, there's already either he runs away, he doesn't get the backing from the board, or either he drops his tools and teams crumble under him. Teams crumbled like Leicester City crumbled under him, which they got relegated. Liverpool struggled within their first 10 games under Brendan Rodgers in their 3rd season because he didn't get the backing from SSG. And then this time around, he didn't get the backing from the Celtic board. To be honest with you, the evidence was there that he should have been backed. He wasn't backed enough in this window. We were buying players for 600k. We got guys in from clubs like Fulham that never played a senior game. Getting a guy in from Japan that only has been professional for a year. Getting guys in on free transfers, from making 7 million man either and getting someone in on a free transfer. No disrespect to Nacho, but that's the type of stature Celtic were looking at in the market. And he called it out time and time again. So over the summer, the reports were that he was offered a contract. Dermot Desmond, Michael Nicholson and the board sat down with Brendan and he said, I'll think about it. When time went on, Celtic failed to qualify for the Champions League, as we're all aware of, against Almaty. Another failure in European qualification, which Brendan Rodgers has done that twice, which was against AK Athens in his first term, which is very similar lines of how this story was going. And we didn't qualify for the Champions League. That was potentially 60 million we missed out on that kitty. And they were in the Europa League. And the Europa League campaign has been absolutely hideous for Celtic. Hideous. A draw in Belgrade wasn't bad. Getting embarrassed by Braga at home and then beating Strong Rats. Yes, we're around 14th in the table. We have a potential that we could qualify for the Europa League. But the Europa League is not Celtic's ideal place they want to be. They want to be in the Champions League. And if Brendan Rodgers wanted to make a statement from last season of progressing into latter stages of the Champions League, he wanted that 1 or 2 players to get stronger. Instead, what happened was one of his key players, Nicholas Kuhn, he dropped his tools. He wanted to move away from Celtic. Como came in. We accepted the 17 million. And what did we do instead? We bought Benjamin Negrin in for 600k. That's the reality. Celtic's model. And you could see that Brendan was becoming unhappy. But at the same time, what really is starting to get to me was when we won the league title at Tannadice, he was saying to Sky Sports, "Oh, he's gonna fulfill his 3 years. He's happy here." He came out a couple of weeks ago to the media saying that he's happy in Glasgow. It's a privilege to manage his club. All this blah blah blah. Is it a case he's been selling the idea or conning news in a way where he wasn't happy? He was just doing it to play politics at the board. Because I think realistically, he's been playing politics with the board since the summer. And the fans have been upset over the transfer window, the lack of investment in the squad. And they have the rights to. You know, when you have 77 million in the bank, you should be pumping a bit of money into the team. And I mean like 30 million to make this team stronger. So when you get stronger, you qualify for the Champions League, you get more money in, and you build and build. Celtic fans want to see Celtic move forward. Yes, it's all about winning the league. It's all about winning the Scottish Cup. It's all about the League Cup. It's all about getting a good run in Europe. But Brendan wasn't cut out for it, especially when the signs were there. We played okay against St Mirren in the opening day. We beat Aberdeen. We drew to Hibs. We drew to Rangers. Losing to Braga at home. Getting beaten by Dundee away at Dens Park. It just shows that his stubbornness about approaching games was there. And he got caught out for it. He got caught out for it because he took teams for granted. He took Almaty for granted. He took Dundee for granted. And especially he knew going into that game on Sunday, yes, we have injury problems. Jota's out, Johnston's out, Carter Vickers is out. He could have played Austin Trusty or that guy Pussy, but he didn't. He played Dane Murray. Dane Murray's 22 years of age, and he hasn't even played a full 30 senior games in his career. And we're putting this guy in beside Kobe Donovan, which is still quite young and inexperienced just yet. And he's getting building, and just shown that we failed. And I feel like this so-called quote of I was riding a Lamborghini, now I'm riding a Honda Civic. The board weren't happy with the remarks that he said in previous times about him not getting the authority, wanting players in early. He didn't get that. And I feel like a part of it is down to Brendan Rodgers throwing his toys out of pram, not getting his own way in every single third season he's managed at a club. And he decides that if I don't get my way, the team's going down with me. We seen it with Leicester, they got relegated. Seen it with Liverpool, they struggled until Klopp came in. And we're seeing it with Celtic, we're struggling. He's told in his first time at Celtic, yes, we were cruising to win the league, and then he left in February. I think he has bluffed, but I do feel a little bit sympathy for Brendan Rodgers, because the way that Dermot Desmond has handled this is a joke. Dermot Desmond is a majority shareholder of over 36% in the club. He is not the voice for Celtic fans. He's a majority shareholder. Where's Michael Nicholson? Where's Chris McCoy? Where's Peter Lawwell? Where's the three that we keep calling out every single week? Where are they when this has all happened? The statement went out and he says that he sat down with Brendan Rodgers for 3 hours in Brendan's house, and Brendan couldn't identify and tell us why we haven't backed him in the past. I don't buy into that. I think the board have been very, very greedy when it comes to the revenues they've received, and they're not putting back in a decent amount of money to show that they care. They're good businessmen. The sheets are quite green, but you need to put it into the team, especially when you lose key players like Matt O'Reilly, like Kyogo, like Kim. I feel like it's affected from the top down to the bottom. It's affected the manager, it's affected the coaching staff, as we see John Kennedy and others have been sacked as well. They've been sacked. John Kennedy's been at the club for 27 years, worked with Brendan, Ronnie and Lenny, and he's gone now. And some people are delighted that he's gone, because some people are putting that label, he's the leak. I don't think he's the leak, to be honest with you. I think someone else at the club is the leak. And I'm not going to say who I think is the leak. They're quick enough to put it out to the Sun and other media outlets when they want to. But Dermot Desmond, yes, he's pumped money into Celtic in the past, but I feel deep down inside this was coming. This is being orchestrated for a couple of weeks. And I know Martinoneill has came out and said, yesterday in Talksport, he thinks Hearts will win the league if Brendan doesn't change, or Brendan's not good enough to turn it around. And what's happened, Martinoneill now is the new interim manager at Celtic. Look at, am I happy Martinoneill back? I think people need to stop living in the past and thinking of, he got us to the European final, he won us a treble, he started this level of success after Rangers dominating for so much. Folks, Martinoneill has left 20 years ago, and football has changed so much drastically. Players are different. He had a dressing room of players who were fighters. Majority of that squad could take the captain's armband. That's how good Martinoneill had a squad of good fighting players that would die for Celtic. We have a crop of players that, look at, do they have the potential to win the league and turn it around? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I was calling for Brendan's resignation after Sunday's match, and I just feel like the club are sugarcoating this whole Martinoneill comeback story. Realistically, I think they're planning to have Sean Maloney in that post past Martinoneill's interim period at Celtic. I've been saying it for months. I think after Brendan, they're going to go on the cheap route. They're going to go for a job for the boys, which is either Sean Maloney, Scott Brown, or something that's close to Celtic that they know quite well. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel. Sean Maloney's coming in. He's experienced, obviously, working with Roberto Martinez at Belgium. He didn't last long at Hibs when he got the manager's job. He failed at Wigan as well. And I know they've obviously bring in another lad as well, a former Huddersfield manager as well. But look, I just feel like we're in a real difficult place at the moment, and the only way it can change is results. They're just trying to lift the PR stunt of, bringing Martin back in. Martin will ride the ship out. Martinoneill hasn't managed in 6 years, folks. Martinoneill hasn't managed in 6 years. And he done an alright job for the Republic of Ireland, got us to the Euros, but he failed in a Nations League, he failed in a World Cup qualification. In Sunderland, he kept them up, and then he fell to the dogs. He done alright at Villa, but Martinoneill obviously is not the long-term answer. He's not going to be the long-term answer. He's just here. It feels like I know a lot of people won't like what I'm going to say. It feels like Kenny Dalglish, John Barnes kind of stunt to it. That sort of feels about it. It feels like, because Martin is obviously the gaffer, but Martinoneill will be sitting in the office doing his tactics. He won't be out in that training field seeing what the lads do, the day-to-day operations. It'll be Sean Maloney and the rest of the coaching staff, like Gavin Strachan's still there, Stevie Woods is still there. It's a weird place, folks, and I feel like a lot of you are buying into Martin's back now. This is going to be good times, and if it is good times, it is, but I just feel like you need to look at the bigger picture here. The board is a big blame. Brendan Rodgers is the blame as well, because he couldn't motivate that team for his life. He couldn't get a reaction out of that team. Callum McGregor will maybe feel like in a couple of weeks' time, when things start going in the right direction, the stress is off him, because he looks stressed. It feels like he's carrying that team all the time, even though he is the captain and that's his duty to motivate that team. But I just feel like these players under Brendan Rodgers, especially over the last 12 months, have struggled. Struggled to dictate games, struggled to get that fluidity on the pitch, to be aggressive in their play, to start getting more chances on goals, take shots from outside the box. I feel like the word is called restricted from playing to the levels they can. And Brendan Rodgers, over 200 odd games for Celtic as a manager, 281 games, 11 trophies. It's a sad way it ended. It really is a sad way it ended. It's not as bad as the first time around, but you can just see that, was he bluffing us? Was he doing it to have a dig at the board, a dig at Dermot, dig at Michael Nicholson? There's talks that Nicholson could be leaving. There's no concrete sources to it. It's just a word of the mouth that Nicholson could be leaving. These people that claim that they're businessmen, that claim that they are the board and they care about Celtic, why have they not released statements? Why have they not come out and get the fans a bit of clarity of the direction the club's gone? Because they don't want to give a direction. They don't want to give the fans an input. So when you see Celtic podcasts, when you see Celtic pages, when you see Celtic fans in the terraces saying sack the board, they're not doing it to cause a civil unrest between fans, because we all want to be united. We all want a successful team. They're doing it because they actually care. They can see between the lines that we need to stop going back to managers. We need to stop going back to Brendan. And I know I said I wanted Brendan back 2 years ago. I thought he was the ideal fit to replace Ange because he was a big name. That's what I said. And I regrettably feel that. I regret what I say. I don't regret that he's brought us 2 league titles and he's bought us, but he hasn't beaten Rangers in 5 games. He's failed in the Champions League for the second time in his second term at the club. Qualification. His football is boring to watch. His press conferences were getting actually annoying to watch as well, because it felt like he had to come up with a different quote each week to keep the media buying into what it's about. Is it Brendan can do it, or is the board not doing it? That's what I felt like. That unrest, and it shouldn't be feeling like that. There's a lot of time to go in the league. There's a lot of football to be played, folks. There's a lot of time to get it together. And I know we've been hit with injuries, as I said, but it's going to be hard for Martinoneill to get these players on track, because they have been so prone to a system which they have struggled to adapt to at times. If Martinoneill comes in and which he is, will he change it to 3-5-2? We don't have the strikers there. We have Shinamade, we have Johnny Kenny. From the thing about the last time Martinoneill was at Celtic, he had Chris Sutton, he had Craig Bellamy, he had John Hartson in his front line. Now he has Shinamade and Johnny Kenny. There's the difference. It's laughable. It really is laughable, the situation we're in, and it's concerning as well, because either we can bounce back and take this league with a scruff of our neck. We have Hearts to play 3 times this season. We'll have to rely on other teams to beat Hearts while we do our own job and do the talking on the pitch. But at the same time, we need to stop covering over the cracks and realise it's concerning. The board are all about money. They're all about taking the money in but not spending it right on the right most important thing. And it's just been it's been difficult since 10 o'clock last night. I can't get my head around why Dermot Desmond has the authority to put a statement out. But yeah, the people that he pays to do their jobs, like the CEO, Michael Nicholson, like Peter Orwell, like Chris McCoy, where are they to be seen? Why are they not making statements? Why are they not doing videos? Because they're hypocrites. They're stealing the wage. But when it comes down to the big shit like this, when fans want answers, they are not to be seen. That's not to be seen. This club is slowly deteriorating. And I know people might say to me, and I lost a couple of subscribers yesterday over me saying the 90s. The 90s was hard because Celtic didn't have money in the 90s. They had to rebuild. They had to get a new stadium. They rebuilt up Celtic Park. Fergus McCann came in. The difference is Fergus McCann had a vision and he stuck by his vision. What's majority shareholders' vision? Keep winning the league, do all right in Europe, not put money into the stadium, not build a hotel, not build a fan zone. Where are we at? Where are we at as a club? Where are we at? But this is the problem with Celtic. I think we need to stop looking to former players and former managers to come in and keep riding the storm through. We should learn from Lenny. We should learn from Brendan. As much as I want Ange in, I realistically think Ange is not going to be a yes man. He's not going to take shit off that board. He made a stance when he came in. Yes, he lost Don McCoy in the early days, but he made a stance and he got success. The problem is Dermot Desmond's pulling too much strings at Celtic, and you know what? We'll hear Brendan Rodgers' side of the story down the line of how it unfolded. And some fans will not care. Some fans will say, well, look at Keith. He left us 8 points behind Hearts. He failed in the Champions League qualification. He had us playing shy football. I don't care. He made his bed with me, and that's it. I can understand that frustration, but I would like to know two sides of the story. I'd like to know because it's important for fans to get an input of how this all happened. Did he say to himself after Tynecastle, coming home on the bus, lads, just to give you the heads up, I'm going to be giving in your resignation tomorrow. It's been a privilege working with you. I wish you the very best. I'll be watching from far away as I was doing the last time, and I wish you the best. But I'm sorry I couldn't take you to that level. I'm sorry that I've let you down. But I don't think Brendan Rodgers holds that much accountability because he's stubborn at times. And I think over the last 3 months, some of the quotes have just shown that he knew what was going on, but the board weren't happy that he called it out. The board weren't happy that he called out the lack of investment, the lack of productivity, the lack of support, even though they say they fully support him. I don't believe they support him. I believe after the transfer window closed, he dropped tools and he knew if he wasn't getting his way, he knew I'm disinterested. I'll do interviews, I'll see how this rides out, I'll get through, and then the board weren't happy with it, and this is why it came to a stage where talks broke down and he's left. Simple as. So good luck to Martin, good luck to Sean. We just need to move forward. As much as I'm a bit angry. I'm not angry that Rodgers has left. I'm happy Rodgers has left. I'm just angry at the way it's all unfolded. If that makes sense to you all. So do subscribe to the channel and I'll speak to you all soon. Hell.